It is 9:02 p.m. Good evening. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk Evening Edition. Did I spell it right? Evening Coffee Talk, tracking the tropics and looking at brand new data. Let's chat. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right. How are ya? I feel like I've been getting it wrong in the title more than I've been getting it right. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris in from Manolfi, which means we're doing our evening thing. I hope you're having a great night, at least weather-wise across Central Florida tonight. Not too bad. We are still watching a few showers, but the metro area is quieting down little bit by little bit. Let's take a look at live first warning Doppler radar and wide shot showing some green. Metro drying out, relatively speaking. A little bit of rain over the south shore there of Lake Apopka. Seminole County friends watching a little bit of rain approaching Geneva, Chuliota. Heavier stuff though coming in here around Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Port Canaveral, spreading a bit. Nothing severe, certainly nothing strong, but there is a little bit of rain. I don't want you to be completely caught off guard. We've got the rain around, all right? Forecast tonight continues to gradually clear it out. Looking ahead to tomorrow, boy oh boy, tomorrow. First day of fall, at least it officially is the first day. Fall doesn't begin. Where is it? Stand by. This graphic didn't get updated. Hold on. See, why do I wait until I'm on the air with y'all? Hit the save button. That. All right. Fall officially starts in 1 day. Singular, Burris. Hold on a second. Days, day, singular, save. Hi, how are ya? Can we try that again? 1 day. Starts tomorrow at 9:03 p.m. I will not be with you, but we are now 23 hours, 59 minutes, and about 30 seconds from fall starting. Yeah, 1 day away. And we've got a pattern shift. Did you notice yesterday we had more rains than today, and today we're beginning to dry things out? That continues looking ahead to tomorrow. So here's our 12-hour forecast looking ahead to tomorrow. We begin beautifully, partly cloudy skies, maybe a couple of coastal showers, and through the day we'll watch those showers continuing to kind of pop up. 20, maybe 30% coverage. I think we're going to probably stick with about a 20% coverage. So tomorrow, looking pretty okay. Really nice forecast. Let's talk about our 7-day forecast, and then we will get to the tropics, because certainly the tropics are going to be the big discussion point. All right, here we go. 92. Your high temperature for tomorrow, beautiful weather. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, mostly dry condition. Gorgeous weather. Anthony says I've got a few questions shortly about the invest. I'll get you, buddy. Don't you worry. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah, we're starting to track the tropics. And that brings me to the tropics. There are not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 systems that we are watching in the tropics. Here is a look at all of them. First off, you have 2 named systems. You've got Hurricane Fiona lifting away from the Turks Caicos. It's going to make a close pass to Bermuda. Then you've got Tropical Storm Gaston in the northern Atlantic. And then there are these 3 systems, Invest 98, Invest 99, and another tropical wave. A low chance of development in yellow, medium, chance of development in orange, and red, high chance of development. That's Invest 98. And not only is that the one that we're watching very closely, but that's also the one that the hurricane hunters have been scanning around and investigating. They're trying to find an area of low pressure in there, and that's what's kind of interesting. Let me just share with you the live data from the recon flight. This is probably an open low at this point. We haven't gotten any decent turn of the winds. Let me refresh the data. Stand by. Hit that button. Hit that. And we hit that button. All right. It'll process the new wind data. Give it a second. All right, processing. There it is. Okay. All right. So still no turn of the winds. So what we're looking at here is raw recon data, and we're trying to find when those wind barbs turn. Without a turn, we don't have a closed low. With no closed low, you don't have a tropical system yet. And it does not look like we have yet a tropical system. Wind shear was playing in yesterday. Wind shear is playing in today. I mean, look at that. The satellite imagery is trash. There's not much Coriolis. We are so far south. That is South America showing up. So, at least in the short term, it stays weak. And I think that, the models here recently are trying to perhaps do a little bit of catch up here, trying to play and figure it all out. Remember, the storm system has not yet developed. And so because of that, computer models are going to struggle to figure it out because it's not even a thing. Okay? So until that happens, here we are just trying to put this together. Let me get logged in here to our computer models. Hit that button, hit that button. All right. And let me hit GFS. But what I do want to do is look at the computer models that we do have, remembering that computer models are guidance, not gospel, remembering that this can and will change, but we've got a new run of the GFS. This is the 18Z run of the GFS. Now what you're looking at there, that scary looking thing, that's not Invest 98, that is Fiona. Remember, there is still a Category 4 hurricane sitting just off of the Florida coastline. It's remarkable that, it is doing what it's doing, so, excuse me, there's no concern. Fiona lifting away. Okay, all right, now first off, let's just back this up and notice that the GFS is keeping, you can see right where it says current temp 79 on the bottom of the screen there, that is Invest 98, staying further south and then starting to develop here, looking ahead. Now this is the GFS run. I want to point out that the GFS is trying to bring it a little further west, like toward the Yucatan Peninsula, and then making a hard right turn and eventually kind of sweeping on through. It'll be interesting to see exactly how this plays out because it all has to do with the timing. If the storm goes a little slower, the initial trough misses it and it kind of just stops and waits for something to pick it up. If it's going a little faster, it will hit that trough and it essentially takes a beeline directly for Florida. So what we're starting to notice here is the GFS going a little slower, going a little further west, and then coming and looping around. And then there's the European, which is going a little faster and kind of coming directly toward like the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So that's the GFS solution. Yeah, I mean, that's not fun, obviously. Let's look at the run before it. That's the 18Z. Let's go to the 12Z. It was a little further. That's the 12Z. There's the current 18Z. So the 18Z shifted a little further to the west. 12Z was a little further to the east. All right. All right, let's look at the European. Okay. Here's the European. This is the 18Z. Now, it's not going to go all the way, but it's at least going to give you an idea. There's the 18Z as far as it goes, right where it says current temp 79. See how weak that is? Let's go from the 18Z to the 12Z. The 12Z already had an area of low pressure developed. The newest run, the 18Z, does not. It's keeping it a bit weaker, a bit longer. So an interesting little development there, okay? So that's what we've got for the operational models. I do want to point out that when you look at the ensembles of the GFS, what's interesting is that the GFS operational, and again, if you forget what the GFS operational was, the GFS operational took it toward the Yucatan and then blew it up and moved into the North Atlantic. The GFS operational model is actually an outlier to the ensembles. If you look at the ensemble members, most of the ensemble members take it east of that location. So it's kind of interesting how that plays out, right? So there's the GFS ensembles bringing it into the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and then most of them are going much further to the east than the GFS operational. So this is where the power of the ensembles are. And if this is a bit of a more confusing view, let me share you another vantage point to the ensembles, okay? Here's a look at the GFS ensembles, basically scraping across South America. Next couple of days, you can see the closer together they are, the more the model confidence. All right. Once we get into the Central Caribbean, though, notice that the models are starting to skew a little bit. There's like a 700-mile spread. And then when we get to about the Florida Peninsula, you're talking about like a 1,200-mile spread. So all said and done, the models, you know, and if you look, I've got it in black there, but that black, that's the operational model. So you can see in black, it's definitely leaning a little further to the left than all the other models are, okay? But that's just the GFS itself, all right? So ensembles are kind of interesting. Definitely interesting in that you get an idea of what the models are thinking. But let's step beyond that. Let's switch over. Give me a few seconds to turn this around. And what I want to do is I want to show the European models. And this is going to be, yeah. So we'll start with the 18Z European models, and then we can kind of expand on that theme. All right? So here's the European. And let's just roll through time. And you can see them there on the bottom of your the bottom of your screen. You've got all those ensemble members seriously tightly in line. And that's as far, of course, that's as far out as the 18Z European model runs. All right? Mike's weather page says GFS is drunk. Yeah, it kind of acts that way, right? Like this is a family entertainment program. Drink coffee, not other beverages, GFS. But it all has to do with the timing, right? I mean, the GFS is running on a different timeline than the European, and that's why this is the case. Bob's asking, when will the data from the hurricane hunters be put into the models, and how long before we will see it in the models? Right. I don't know that it's going to make it into the 00Z runs. It hasn't found much. You know, the hurricane hunters have not found much right now. So, it would be really nice if we could at least find a little bit of a turn where we could get that data into the models. But as we say all the time, garbage in, garbage out, right? So anyway, that's the European ensembles off of 18Z. Let's go back and let's look at the comparison. Take a picture of that, take a visualization of that, and I'm going to go to the 12Z. Ready? Boom. So maybe it was a little bit shifted west, but you get the idea. Even the 12Z was pretty tightly agreed, but I can move the 12Z further forward. And you can kind of see how they spread out, but it likes the Eastern Gulf. At this point, I think if there's one thing to notice, it's that the Eastern Gulf wants to stay the focal point, right? No offense, but Louisiana can have it. Florida doesn't want it. I don't think Louisiana wants it either. Yeah. Trish, what does 18Z and 12Z mean? Sorry if that's a non-smart question. Trish, there's no such thing as a non-smart question. I'm here. I'm here to talk to smart, non-smart, people that want to pretend that they're smart, people that kind of aren't smart but think that they are, whatever it is. No. It has to do with Zulu time. So if you notice, top right corner, it says hour 192, valid 12Z, Thursday 29 September. So what this is that the world uses these models. These are global models. And so in order for everybody to be on the same page, this is not showing 8 a.m., which is what it is. 12Z is 8 a.m. Eastern time. We live in Eastern time. But in order for the global models to make sure everybody's on the right page, we run them on Zulu time, or GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC, Universal Coordinated Time. It's all done that way. Pilots use this. Anything that's kind of worldwide runs off of Zulu time typically. So, yeah. All right. So that's where we're at. Please shift a little west. Listen, windshield wiper rule. This is going to come to the left and come to the right, and it's always going to do that. All right? Trina says there's no dumb questions here. It's true. I'm here to help calm everybody down. That's all. That's all. Patricia's asking, is the European the most accurate? It definitely has had its moments in the sun, but I would go on to say that it's kind of anybody's guess at this point. Each model has its goods and each model has its bads. And remember that every year these models are getting upgraded. So they'll have different biases and stuff. So you can't just label one model as being better than another, right? Greg, would a stronger storm be as affected by the cold front coming down? A stronger storm would want to recurve. A weaker storm would want to go west. So you've got, here's the thing, and I distinctly remember this exact scenario playing out with Charlie. I'm not calling this Charlie 2.0. But I remember being in the weather department saying this all comes down to a cold front digging in. And at what point does the storm system run into the brick wall and have to ride along the front? And that's kind of where we're going with Invest 98. And while you're asking, or maybe you haven't asked, is it possible that this thing doesn't develop at all and just goes right into land? Yeah. I mean, it looks like trash. So don't lose sight of the fact that it's possible that this just completely falls apart and it just loses its luster. You're talking like 11, 12 degrees north latitude. You're very near the equator. There's not a lot of Coriolis force there. So Melissa's asking, storm surge for Key West. If it develops, yeah. If it doesn't develop, then no, right? I mean, this is the 12Z European, you know, and if you go off of the European, then yeah, you're talking, you know, Wednesday afternoon, a potent storm system working towards southwest Florida. You know, if you're looking at, and let me, this may be a better way to do it. Of course, I didn't go through the full thing. All right, so let me just run the model comparison here. And because I only have full model data, I've not incorporated in the 18Z to this. This is just the 12Z for both models. But watch how both models are showing the storm system. But notice the GFS is taking it much further west. And therefore, it's slower, right? Like that would be Wednesday evening. The European has Florida. The GFS is still out west. And then looking ahead to Friday, that's when the GFS starts to kind of curve around. So it really does. It really all comes down to how long does it scrape along South America? When does it start to develop? And then its overall forward motion. Remember, the difference between 5 and 10 miles an hour right now is not a big deal. But you extrapolate that out a couple of days, and that's some serious mileage. So this all plays into it, okay? Virginia impact, absolutely no way. Absolutely no way to tell about any kind of a Florida impact. Mike, you rock, man. Love your patch. Thank you, Mr. Mike. You too. Listen, if there wasn't people that loved weather, then, you know, you wouldn't have the people that talk about the weather. You have to love it to talk about it at all hours. Mary Lee, Eric is telling me my bedtime story. Hey, I'm sorry if my aunts are putting you to bed. Maurice is asking, does the LRC and BSR support the European for this one? They do. They definitely take more. They definitely take more. I'll show you the LRC. If you're curious what that is, we do long-range forecasting. And one of the tools that we use in the long-range forecast is the LRC. And this is part of the November 6th part of the pattern. So it focuses on Florida's west coast. And, you know, it had cycled through twice before. Mid-May was a non-tropical low. Late July was a non-tropical low. And here we are late September. So it does show the west coast of Florida. And then potentially coming off and, you know, through the east coast areas. So, yes, this is definitely part of the weather pattern that we outlined all the way back on March 1st. Yeah. So just, you know, and I think that this is a good way to compare it. You know, if you look at the different models here, getting more and more intense. This is Tuesday, side by side, right? So Tuesday into Wednesday. So you've got two kind of distinct camps now. It had been the entire time up until today. the entire time, the models had very much been in agreement. Today we've started to see some varying, and perhaps we'll start to get some consistency again, or at least some better data once the Hurricane Hunter data comes in from tonight. All right, but there we are, the two different camps, the Euro on the right-hand side, the GFS on the left-hand side, and then from there, Euro, goes basically straight to Florida's west coast, whereas the GFS kind of hangs out and then lifts up toward like the Florida Panhandle. All right, so if there's one thing that I hope that you take from this, it's my timeline. Okay, next couple of days we're just watching for development. That's it, nothing more, nothing less. Late this week into the weekend, we should start to see that development. And as it develops, then the models are going to do a better job. They're going to start to chew on that fat better and better and better. And then this weekend, that's when I think that the forecast starts zeroing in, keying into it. All right? Nancy's asking, can you compare this to the Irma track? Sure, yeah, we can look at it and compare. So Irma was way further north, and it was much more developed earlier, Yeah. I mean, this storm system, for comparison purposes, hold on, yes, zoom it in, blah, 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 blah. If you just look at where that's Irma, our storm system is like here. In a more appropriate analog, as much as I don't like to say it, is Charlie. Yeah, there's Charlie. And our storm system is like down here. Now, Charlie was already a depression at this point. Our storm system is down here. Yeah, Charlie is actually a decent analog for this. It is. So, does it follow the same path? I think that our system may want to be a little further south, and then it's, the big question is what happens when it gets here. But the problem is once you get a storm system into the Gulf, like Charlie, for example, it had to make landfall somewhere. And that, I think, is the biggest concern, is once this starts to move, it's in the Caribbean, it's doing its thing, great, doing its thing. But once you get it into the Gulf, you're out of space, And one point, and I made this point during WESH 2 News tonight, which is that, why am I not even showing you the data? I'm sorry, I thought I was showing you the data. Holy cannoli. All right, well, Charlie, I was circling all this stuff. I had no idea you weren't seeing it. Of course. All right, let me go back and show this. Here's the Charlie track. This is how you can tell that I need coffee. Linda says, please answer, Eric from Ocala. See, here's the problem. I didn't see your question. I just see you asking me to please answer. So I can't answer if I don't see it. All right, so there's the Charlie track. And you can see Charlie started this far south. Charlie is a decent analog for it, I don't like that, but it's, it's true. Let me just show you kind of for comparison purposes. So that's the Charlie track. Our storm system is kind of in this exact spot. Notice though, Charlie was already a depression at this point, became a storm. And if anything, I think that this is going to be a little further south. The question though is where does it go from there? For whoever was asking about Irma, obviously we know where Irma ended up going. But let me widen this out and show you Irma's path. Irma was much further north, and much stronger. So no, absolutely not the case. Wilma, somebody had asked about Wilma. Wilma started in the central Caribbean and got going rapidly. And the concern with this is similar to Wilma. Because if you remember, if you just look at that and you can very clearly see, Wilma went from a tropical storm to a hurricane to a Cat 5 to one of the strongest Cat 5s on record super quick. Why? Because of energy. And that's, I think, one of our bigger concerns. If you look into the Caribbean Sea, this is a map that we've not really ever shown. It's the Tropical Cyclone Heat Potential Map. This takes into account the depth of the ocean, the heat energy in the ocean. Remember, we've not had storm systems go through the Caribbean yet this year. So once this gets there, especially from about Jamaica over toward the Yucatan Channel, you've got the most energy in the tropical Atlantic basin, period. There's no more energy anywhere else. That is like rocket fuel for this tropical thing. As soon as it gets it, overdrive. Wind shear goes down, energy up. That's the concern. So it's weak and it's as disheveled as I will be tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. when my alarm goes off. But every day I pick myself up, get myself going. One other thing, we've talked about this, especially on our morning coffee talks, is the A-Bear box. And this storm system, at least the current computer forecast models, do take it through the A-Bear box. Yeah, and if you're not familiar with what the A-Bear box is, I believe it's Paul A-Bear, who's a National Weather Service meteorologist, a National Hurricane Center meteorologist, discovered that if tropical storms and hurricanes go through these boxes, there's two of them. One is kind of for earlier in the season, one is kind of for later in the season. But storms that go through there as kind of decent storms end up trying to hit Florida. So, you know, Charlie, Francis, Wilma, Irma, among others that hit them. So, you know, there's the box, there's the models, definitely something we're going to be watching. All right? There's a lot of you and a lot of questions, so I'm done running my mouth for a few minutes. Let's talk. What questions have you? Tom, good news is not every storm that goes through the box comes here. Agreed. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect science, but it's something to watch. All right, it's definitely something to watch. I think if I'm looking at the overall meteorology, you know, a lot of you ask, you know, oh, well, what model do you like? If I look at the overall meteorology, I think the Euro probably has a better handle on it. I'd be curious to see, though. I am going to be curious to see the 0-0 run of the Euro. In other words, it's going to come in at like 2 p.m. tonight. What's the top choice model to go by? Mike is asking. There's not really. You take all of them in for what they are, analyze them, and go from there. But, you know, I think that the Euro has kind of a better handle on it. Matthew, are you surprised how disorganized Invest 90 is right now? Or 98 is right now? No. We knew it was going to be a disheveled mess these next couple of days. It's so far south, there's not Coriolis force, which Coriolis is what gives it the atmospheric spin. So until it starts to try and climb a little further to the north, you're just not going to get much. We knew that. We knew that to be the case. But it keeps trying to reinvigorate once it gets that daytime heating. So wouldn't surprise me if we get this thing firing up again some convection tomorrow. But I think late week into the weekend is when it's really going to find its footing and when it's really going to get going. All right? Glenn, question, if this does form and go over the tip of Cuba, do you think that there could be some deterioration due to going over land? Well, let's look at the two models. Right? So the Euro goes over the extreme western tip there of Cuba. Not a lot of high terrain there. It's a fairly thin pass. If it was riding along Cuba, sure. If it was going over some of the more terrain dense areas, sure. But, you know, if it goes over that tip, not a lot. Linda says you're ignoring me, Eric. Linda, with all due respect, ask your darn question. All I keep seeing is you complaining that I'm ignoring you, which I'm not. There are over 1,000 people in here, my dear. I can only read as much as I can read while talking. Jennifer, if it were to come to Florida, how would it play out for Central Florida, Melbourne? It would be a hurricane? I don't know. You can't just plot that and say, oh, it would be bad. Well, we don't know how strong it is. We don't know what its angle of entry is. We don't know too many things, you know. So here's what I could tell you. It won't be the greatest of weather, right? Outside of that, don't know. What is causing it to turn back to the east when it enters into the Gulf? It's going to make that right turn because there's going to be a trough of low pressure up to the north, a cold front that's going to steer it in. Yeah. Are the hunters going in soon? The hurricane hunters are in there right now. Yeah, they haven't found anything really. Here, I'll show you the latest data. Let me download it. Stand by. The way that I plot the model data, if you want to see the raw model data, which is what I like to look at, then I have to run external stuff. Give it a second. Hold on. All right, it's done. It's done. Let's open up the graphic. What day should give us the best indication of where it will head? This weekend, I think we'll have a much better handle on where this thing's going. All right, so let's get our bearings. This is kind of the mission where we are. That's South America there. Let's zoom into the track. I see southeast winds. They're just doing like a zigzag pattern, trying to find a turn in the winds, and they've not found it. Yeah, so not much useful data coming in from the hurricane hunters tonight. So what day should give it? Let's see here. Pensacola, Florida, checking in. Great analysis. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. M. Simon says, I don't get it. Who is this guy? I'm just a weather guy. Alicia, but there's a front coming down that dries it out and shears it too. Well, think of it like it's a brick wall coming at it. So it's just going to go away from it. And that's what's making it make that turn. Jamie, do you put much stock into the Canadian model? Not usually, no. Zach's asking, how accurate was the GFS model versus the European model for the current hurricane? For Fiona, they both had their goods and they both had their bads. I think at the moment the European probably has a slightly better handle at what's going on with this one, but yeah, it's a mess. And the problem is when tropical systems look raggedy as can be, you're not going to get good model data because, as I always say, garbage in, garbage out. So yeah, there's not much there to even look at. Micah says, so we should really wait until Sunday to start having a better understanding of where it's going. Yes, 100%. Thank you, Gulf Coast Updates. Oh, Jesse, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, bud. Is the Gulf unusually warm right now? Well, yes. Yes, it is unusually warm, but the real piece of heat energy is actually in the Caribbean. It's the most potential heat, the most fuel, if you will. Susan, when will the hunters fly in to check it? They are in there right now. Yeah. Brandon says, the day you ever retire, not sure what I'm going to do during hurricane season. Just tell the bosses to never, ever let me retire. You could even tell them to throw some money. You know. If it enters the Gulf, how many days before it is estimated to make landfall? Hoping to steer away from the panhandle. It would be wanting to move into the Gulf of Mexico Tuesday, Wednesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's kind of the time frame. Megan says, how many exact inches of rain will fall into land? Yeah. Isn't it cute? Some people actually say that, though. That's the best part, is some people actually ask that question. And again, forgive me. Of course, Jesse. Of course I do. Well, now I know who you are. I follow your Gulf Coast page. Some people do actually want, like, the specificity of it, which is adorable. Is it possible that it just breaks up and goes away? It is, yeah. I mean, look at it. It looks rough. Yeah. Thank you very much, Yesenia. All right. So addicted to coffee talk, and I have no idea why. Jennifer says, thank you. I don't even care about the weather, but I can't stop watching. Hey, sometimes it's like a train wreck, you know? That's the way it is. Sometimes it's like a train wreck. Philip, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. Bob, the latest 12Z Euro has the eye literally coming out of New Smyrna Beach and back into the Atlantic over my house. Wouldn't that be the most fun in the world, right? Not. Ay, ay, ay. Kimley says, hurricane hunters were just over my island, Trinidad. We're already experiencing flooding. Yeah. A lot of moisture, but not a lot of organization. And it looks like if there is circulation, it's literally, I mean, like right here. If there's circulation, it's like down here. There's not much, if there is at all. GFS nailed Ida last year, but the GFS has been updated. You know, that's the problem, is each year these models are getting updated. Lauren's asking, what did the color code at the top mean? Oh, on the recon mission? The recon mission, the color code was the flight level winds. So at least it gives you an idea when it's getting into some major stuff. But there hasn't really been, you know? Anthony says, I hate to say it, I like the model that moves it away from Florida. Yeah, agreed. Oh, good question. Aaron's asking, what's the intensity? All right, let's look at the intensity models. Remember that intensity, by far and away, is the kind of lowest accuracy point when it comes to our forecasting. But notice Sunday into Monday, that's when the models really take it off. Glenn's asking, this is a good question. He says, theoretical question. If there had not been a low pressure system coming down, what could the track possibly have been? It could be more of a Texas or even potentially like a Louisiana type path. Yeah, because it doesn't have something that's jerking it, but as it is trying to spin up, it's going to want to hit that recurve signature. So yeah, that's where we're at. The problem is, when you get storms in the Gulf, you know, like, let's just look, again, this is the European ensembles. The problem is, when you get stuff going on this trajectory, no matter where they go, they're going to make landfall somewhere. And that's the worst, right? That's the worst. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it, buddy. Is Fiona having any effect on this development? Yeah, it has kept it pretty weak because of the shear. It helped to ventilate it a little bit, and now it's kind of sheared it a little bit. Yeah. This is becoming must-see TV, not on TV, but Facebook. Well, Tim, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Debbie, can I safely come back to Florida next week? I hate to drive back and be caught in a hurricane. Well, me too. Just watch. You know, it's obviously, you know, it's just too early to know. It's just too early to know how this plays out. Brian, question, with the A-Bear boxes, when a storm passes through the boxes, does it give an accurate estimate of strength intensity upon landfall, being that A-Bear boxes are the closest spot to potential landfall impact? Not that I know of, but I haven't found enough documentation on it. We were looking for peer-reviewed paperwork, couldn't find anything. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it very much. I'm still the one. Thank you very much. Seriously, thank you. Allison says you have the patience of a saint. Well, thank you. I appreciate. Listen, you know, people are going to troll, and for that, I've got you know, I've got a couple of words. But for people that are concerned, for people that are new to this, I want to make sure that they have an ally, someone in their corner. I want to make sure that I'm here not only to keep you calm, but also, if you've got a question, I've done this. You know, I've been in broadcast weather for more than 20 years. So, you know, I've done this a few times. Jesse says there's a point when there is no escape route beside making landfall on the Gulf Coast somewhere, right? And that's the concerning moments. That's when you're watching a storm develop and you're just like, oh God, you know, this thing is gonna go somewhere, and I don't love that. CJ on YouTube, hey man, question, does Euro work better this year than the GFS? You know, I think at the moment the Euro may have a better handle on it, but the Euro is even tweaking. They're each tweaking around a little bit, and they're going, believe me, they're going to tweak again once we get this recon data, which is completely, at the moment, unremarkable. I'm just looking to see if we've got any kind of a spin. Like, there's no spin. We've gotten into some decent wind gusts, but it is a completely open wave thus far. Completely open wave thus far. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, LeVar Burton. Just take a look at the satellite imagery. Is the recon data for the Invest going into the next year on GFS? I don't know. Lava Command. We'll have to look and see. Once they start running the model, you can see the data set and what was incorporated into the data set. We'll have to look and see how that plays out. Yeah. Question, will this storm possibly be a Cat 5 in the Gulf since the waters are warm? Well, remember, the waters have been warm all hurricane season long, and we got off to a super slow start. So it's not just the water temperatures that play in. There are so many other factors. So many other factors. Amber, recap. Amber, I've only been talking for 42 minutes. How do I recap 42 minutes? There's a storm, Invest 98, looks like trash. Eventually it moves into the Caribbean. Models say it's going to develop. I say it probably will develop unless it just runs aground completely and loses itself in the moment you own it. You better never let it go. At the end of the day, we still don't have a closed low. We just have a strung out wave. Yeah, Bob, right? Like the thing looks like garbage. Tim, written in sarcasm font. Ooh, I like that font. As a font snob, I like it. What day and time should we panic? Let's all say like 2:45 on September the 32nd, we'll all panic. And if you get that reference, you get that reference. Joe, why are the models updated every year? What does that mean? Well, the models get updated because just like your computer, don't you want a new computer every year? Don't you find new technology? Well, imagine if the world depends on your computer, right? That's why the models are updated, because the world depends on these things. Like literally, the world does. Yeah. Eric in the morning, Eric in the evening, Eric at bedtime. When Eric's doing weather, you don't have to worry anytime. Oh, Cliff, I like that. I remember those commercials. Anthony, why did this not become a potential tropical cyclone? Great question. So, first off, the designation PTC really plays in when they have a non-storm system that is expected to become an impactful storm system pretty quickly, and they want to issue advisories. In this case, it is an open wave still. There is no organization on this sucker. So they don't need to warn the ABC Islands, you know, South America. Some squally weather, sure, but, you know. So, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So, you know, if it were to start heading in toward a landmass and that they wanted to get advisories out, then they would do it. But for right now, there's not nothing, you know. Oh, I just realized I had that minimized, so it's not looping. Thomas, could this become a depression by 11 p.m.? I'm going to say no. The hurricane hunters are not finding anything. Yeah. Thank you very much, Matthew. Appreciate it. Mickey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I like the sarcasm font, right? Trish, Christy, that's good. That's good. Do you still look at the Navy models? I look at I look at everything, but there's certain things that just kind of put on the back burner. Cav is asking, if a storm goes from the west coast to the east coast, isn't that a stronger storm for Florida since the right side is the worst? It depends if it's north or south of us. Yeah. Bo, thank you, buddy. What's the protocol for Artemis? This is a great question. Guess they make a call depending on the track and roll it back to the VAB. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Stacy, that's funny. Thank you very much, Heather. I appreciate it. Kathy, new to you. Like your style. Thank you. Appreciate it, love. Beverly, had a long day. Yeah, it is. Dan, what are the odds this hits Texas? I always love when people ask me the odds. I'm not going to make odds. 21%. I don't know. What are the odds? I just spent the last, what is it? I've been on here for 43 minutes. I spent the last 43 minutes telling you we don't know where it's going to go. I mean, you know, like, what are the, I love it, you know, and I'm teasing you, but like, I do love it when people ask me that because it's like, well, we don't know the odds. The ensembles have a 1,200 mile spread. What are the odds? I don't know. Do you see actual improvements with the model updates yearly? Joe, I would say that kind of like computer software, you get improvement, but you also see where it starts getting worse in other areas. And you're like, ah, crud. Gonna have to work on that one. Yeah. Golden says, new models I saw on YouTube. The Euro and the GFS coming in agreement toward New Orleans. Showed a big monster storm that could surpass Katrina. Don't know what models you're looking at. The sheer fact that you wrote a big monster storm that could surpass Katrina says hype to me. Anybody that gives you exacts, they have no idea what they're talking about. Just being real, y'all. How would a stronger or weaker front make a difference? If it's a weaker front, maybe the storm doesn't recurve as hard. That plays into it. The timing plays into it. The strength of the storm system itself plays into it. There's just so many things, you know? The odds are 1-to-1 that it's Invest 98. Exactly, right? Discover Florida says, never tell me the odds, Han Solo. That's it. I just love when people don't ask me on a Tuesday in January, what are the odds of it raining today? They just ask, is it going to rain? And I usually say no, right? Like, that's fine. But I love when people talking tropics are like, what are the odds it hits Florida? Do you want like a mathematical percentage? Like, should I pull my calculator out? What? Oy vey. Speaking of the right side, Cliff says, with Bermuda being so small, does the right front really affect them? Is the right front quadrant always a thing? It is always a thing, yeah. So Fiona could put them in that right front quadrant. Yep, what are the odds I'll sleep through the night without my small child waking me up? Oh, Christy, my magic 8-ball says not looking good. Half past, yeah, Taylor, yes. Just rain, Don says, I would love that. We don't know. Isn't it funny? Like, my job literally was to come on here and tell you we don't know. And I've spent it's funny when you like boil it down to this. I have spent the last 46 minutes and 30 seconds telling you I have no idea where it's going to go. That's hilarious, right? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Eric, when do you think next week we will get better understanding on where this will go? I really think it won't even be next week. I think it's going to be this weekend. This weekend is when I think we're going to get into the zeroing in on things. Because that's when the steering is going to be coming together. That's when it should have an area of low pressure. We're going to have model data improved by recon missions. That's when I think we're going to key in. At this point, you're just going to get 47 minutes, 8 seconds of me saying, I don't know where it's going to go. And it's hilarious. But it's true. I'm giving you the data, but, you know, that's where it's at. I think it's pretty funny, though. Oh, Emmy, but we love you. Thank you. Thank you very much. What are the odds of having a day off next week? I could tell you, Daniel, I don't think those are looking good for me. For you, maybe? I don't know. But for me, not looking good. Yeah. NOLA, 18ZGFS, was the monster he was talking about. He was also referencing the European, which did not show that. He was also referencing both models trending. I would say, and it's also moving like east, northeast. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kristen. We love you. Thank you very much. Jordan says, man, is that his breaking point? Nah, I just like teasing. Jenny, so Eric, after the last 45 minutes, do you still not know? Exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. Good old Mother Nature. Eileen says, stay calm, get prepared, watch me, I'll keep you safe. And my goal is not only to keep you safe, but to keep you updated with zero hype. I'm going to never hype. I'm going to give you the data. I may make fun of each other. We make fun of each other. But I'm going to give you zero hype, and I don't want you hyping it either. For those of you that are new to this, we're going to get through it all together. If we get hit, well, that stinks. If we don't get hit, cool. Probably you're going to have to help somebody that does get hit, right? Because once these things stumble into the Gulf, somebody's going to get hit. All right? So this weekend is when we're going to have a better idea. Up until this point, you know, we'll just watch it. Jennifer says, and there's still 650 of us watching, and you tell us you don't know anything. That's what's so like hilarious. I just think it's funny in its nature, you know. What are the odds everyone remembered the 21st night of September? Boom! Got it. Oh, man. Evelyn, you, my friend, are trying to explain a science to non-science-oriented people. Good luck. It's like trying to teach calculus to a monkey. That's pretty funny. That's the way I felt in some of my math classes. Like, so what are you really trying to teach me here? Give me a second. I'm just reading. Okay. Oh, that sounds good, Dan. I'm jealous. I want the M2 chip. Can you compare it to the Michael track? Sure, Michael. And then it's 9:52. I'm gonna have to go here in a minute. Michael, hold on. Let it load. We're beating the computer up tonight. Does it have the historical track? I don't think it does. I think I have to open it manually. Hold on a second. Hold on. Michael. Wow, why is the Michael graphic? I'll update this. Give me a second. Delete storm name. Michael. Michael. In 2012. No, 2018. All right. Save. Give it a second. That's the Michael track. All right, let me pull that up for you. Give it a second. Odd question. Why are there like 50 models in these current data sets that the NHC puts out? They're just ensemble members. Okay, yeah, Michael was a very different scenario than this. Yeah, they're just different ensemble members. All right. Let's see here. This guy's low-key hostile, Daniel says. Hey, I like that. I like to keep you on your toes. Oh, man. Thanks a lot for calling us non-scientific. Oh, geez, Sandy. I didn't say that. Somebody else did. But, you know, my goal is to make sure that everybody, no matter what your science background, no matter what your interest in the weather is, my goal is to make sure everybody knows. And if you have any questions, I want to help you out with it. You know, that's the bottom line. That's why I'm here. So we will be tracking this. We're going to talk plenty over the next couple of days. All right, that I can promise you. So for now, be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out. Taylor says we need more sassy Eric in the morning. I'm going to be tired tomorrow morning. That I can promise as well. We will have zero hype here. We'll just be talking about it, all right? All right, I'll see you on TV in just a couple of minutes. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. And then tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. See you there.